Hi everyone. I hope you're doing well. I pray to God that you and your family are safe and happy. Today's story takes you back to a defining moment of World War II. This is not a story of legends or myths, but the real decisions, mistakes, and realities of war. June 1944. The Philippine Sea. Lieutenant Hiroyoshi Nishizawa, Imperial Japanese Navy Air Service, grips the control column of his Mitsubishi A6M Zero. He is 24 years old. He is already one of Japan's highest scoring fighter pilots, but here, high above the deep blue water, numbers and reputation mean nothing. The radio crackles with fragmented orders. Japanese carrier decks below are crowded, tense. Rushed. Fuel is limited. Replacement pilots are young, barely trained. Nishizawa knows this without needing to look. He sees it every time a wingman drifts out of formation. The first mobile fleet, under Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa, is preparing to meet the advancing U.S. Fifth Fleet. The Americans are coming with something Japan has not faced before: overwhelming numbers of carrier aircraft, radar-guided interception, and pilots trained through repetition, not desperation. Nishizawa climbs with his section into thinning cloud. The Zero vibrates. As the engine strains, the aircraft is light, agile, lethal in close combat, but fragile. No armor. No self-sealing fuel tanks. He has lived this reality since Guadalcanal. In 1942, skill could still overcome disadvantage. In 1944, the sky itself feels hostile. Below him, the fleet stretches across the horizon. Zuikaku, Taihu, Shakaku, names that once inspired fear. Now they sail under constant threat. American submarines prowl unseen. American radar sees farther than human eyes. The plan is simple and dangerously optimistic. Strike first, strike far, and break the American carriers before their aircraft can respond. Nishizawa knows the distance is extreme. It will require fuel discipline, perfect navigation, and luck. There is no margin. At 8:30, engines roar across the decks. Fighters, dive bombers, torpedo planes lift into the humid air. Nishizawa forms up, scanning the sky. He watches young pilots struggle to maintain altitude. Some wobble, some lag behind. He remembers earlier years: China, the South Pacific, when Japanese pilots ruled the air through instinct and experience. Those veterans are mostly gone now, killed, worn down, never replaced. As the formation pushes eastward, hours pass. Fuel gauges creep downward. The sun climbs higher. The radio remains silent. Too silent. Nishizawa feels it before he understands. It's somewhere ahead. American radar screens are already glowing. American fighters are already climbing. Then a voice breaks through the static. Enemy aircraft. Many. Bearing northeast. Nishizawa tightens his grip. He scans the empty blue, knowing what is coming, knowing that today the Zero will be tested against a new kind of enemy, and that skill alone may no longer be enough. The sky ahead darkens with distant specks, growing larger by the second. The battle for air superiority is about to begin. The dots ahead expand quickly. There is no doubt now. Grumman F6F Hellcats, dark against the sun, drop out of altitude with discipline Nishizawa has rarely seen. They do not scatter. They do not rush. They descend in layered formations, guided by radar and calm voices far beyond visual range. The Japanese strike force breaks apart almost immediately. Young pilots panic. Some jettison drop tanks too early. Others forget to. Radio channels clog with overlapping warnings. Nishizawa snaps his Zero into a climbing turn, trying to gain height, knowing altitude is life. The first firing passes are brutal. The Hellcats do not turn fight. They dive, fire, climb away. Heavy .50 caliber rounds tear through the air. A Zero beside Nishizawa erupts in flame without warning. No evasive maneuver. No recovery. Just fire, then falling wreckage. Nishizawa rolls hard left, pulling into a tight spiral. This is where the Zero still excels low-speed maneuvering, instant response. A Hellcat overshoots, its heavier frame unable to follow the turn. Nishizawa lines up the shot. A short burst strikes along the fuselage. The American aircraft smokes but does not fall. It dives away, still flying. That realization lands with weight. In earlier years, that burst would have been enough. Above him, contrails crisscross like scars. Below, Japanese bombers Yokosuka D-4Y Judy dive bombers struggle forward, unprotected. Hellcats peel off methodically, choosing targets at will. Nishizawa watches one bomber disintegrate mid-air, wings torn free. He tries to regroup, but the radio is chaos. No central control. No warning vectors. The Americans seem everywhere at once. Nishizawa catches glimpses of parachutes too few. Most pilots never escape. Fuel becomes a constant whisper in his mind. The long flight out has drained reserves. Combat maneuvers bleed more. Every turn costs something he cannot replace. A Hellcat drops onto his tail. Nishizawa senses it before he sees it. He snaps into a violent turn, then another, forcing the Zero to the edge of stall. The Hellcat stays with him longer than expected. Its pilot is disciplined, trained, not chasing recklessly. Tracer rounds flash past Nishizawa's canopy. One strikes the wing root. The Zero shudders. No fire yet. He dives, trading altitude for speed, skimming cloud tops. The Hellcat breaks off, climbing back toward higher cover. Nishizawa pulls up, breathing hard, scanning for friendlies. There are fewer now. Much fewer. Below him, the ocean reflects sunlight with cruel calm. Somewhere beneath that surface, the Japanese carriers wait, unaware that the air shield, meant to protect them, is being stripped away, minute by minute. Nishizawa realizes this battle is not about individual skill anymore. It is about systems, training pipelines, and machines built for survival. And Japan is losing all three. The radio crackles again, fragmented, urgent. Enemy aircraft breaking through. Bombers inbound on the fleet. Nishizawa turns toward the sound, knowing the next moments may decide not just his fate, but the fate of every ship below. The warning comes too late. American strike aircraft push through the thinning. Japanese fighters screen in organized waves. Nishizawa sees them clearly, now Douglas, SBD, Dauntless dive bombers, and Grumman, TBF Avenger torpedo, planes steady, deliberate, protected by layers of Hellcats above and around them. He pushes his Zero forward, forcing the engine harder than regulations allow. The airframe trembles. Fuel drains faster. There is no choice. Below, the carriers grow larger, their wakes cutting white lines across the sea. Anti-aircraft fire opens from the Japanese ships, black puffs blooming in the sky. It is heavy, desperate, and poorly coordinated. Nishizawa watches the Dauntless take hits and continue its dive without deviation. The discipline is chilling. He angles down toward the nearest bomber, selecting a target already committed to its attack. The Zero screams as he accelerates. He fires in short, controlled bursts, aiming for the cockpit and engine. The American aircraft shudders, smoke trailing from its cowling. Still, it holds its dive. At the last possible moment, the Dauntless releases its bomb. Nishizawa pulls up sharply, barely avoiding collision. He glances back just in time to see the bomb strike. The flight deck of Teha flash, smoke, then fire spreads with terrifying speed. Almost immediately, shockwaves ripple through the formation. More bombs fall. Torpedoes carve white scars across the water toward other carriers. Nishizawa sees Shokaku take hits along her hull. Flames rise. The proud carrier slows, listing slightly. Above, Hellcats tighten their grip on the sky. Japanese fighters attempting to intercept are cut down one by one. There is no extended dogfighting, only brief flashes, then falling aircraft. Nishizawa tries to climb again, but the engine sputters. Fuel pressure fluctuates. He throttles back, fighting the urge to panic. He can still fly, but barely. The Zero is no longer a predator here. It is prey surviving by instinct. He hears nothing useful on the radio now. Only broken calls, abrupt silences. Squadron cohesion is gone. The air battle is fragmented into individual struggles. Below him, the sea is littered with smoke trails and burning wreckage. Sailors fight fires with hoses and buckets. Damage. Control teams race across decks that were never designed for sustained punishment. Nishizawa circles once, helpless. The realization is sharp and cold. The Americans are not winning through brilliance alone. They are winning because they can afford losses. Japan cannot. A Hellcat passes beneath him, ignoring him, focused on another target. That more than anything tells Nishizawa the truth. He is no longer the priority. Fuel alarms flash. The gauge is dangerously low. He must decide ditch at sea or attempt the long flight back without certainty. He turns west, pulling away from the burning fleet. Smoke towers rise behind him, marking the moment Japanese naval aviation loses its grip on the sky. But the battle is not over. Ahead, the horizon is empty, and that emptiness is more dangerous than any enemy. The engine runs unevenly now. Each vibration travels up through the fuselage into Nishizawa's hands. He keeps the throttle just below full power. Listening, feeling calmer, calculating that the Zero is light enough to stay airborne, but only if he treats it gently. There will be no second chances. The sea below is empty except for drifting debris. No friendly ships, no rescue aircraft. The fleet action has moved on without him. Nishizawa is alone in the sky. Fuel drops toward the last markings. He reduces altitude, trading height for efficiency. Clouds slide past. Gray and indifferent, he scans constantly, knowing American fighters still patrol the area. One mistake, One contrail above him, and this flight ends. Minutes stretch. Then the radio comes alive, faint, distorted. A Japanese voice, distant, strained. Reports of carriers sunk. Reports of losses too heavy to count. The first mobile fleet is retreating. Nishizawa feels no shock, only confirmation. He reaches the edge of his endurance as the Zero coughs again. The engine sputters, recovers, sputters once more. He sees it now, dark shapes. Ahead on the horizon, land. The Mariana Islands. He lowers the landing gear early, afraid it might fail if he waits. The drag is painful, but controlled flight matters more than speed. The strip below is narrow, primitive, scarred by previous landings. No one waves him in. Ground crews are overwhelmed. He brings the Zero down hard. The aircraft bounces once, then settles. The engine dies the moment the wheels stop rolling. Silence fills the cockpit, broken only by the ticking of hot metal cooling. Nishizawa climbs out slowly. Around him, other aircraft sit damaged or abandoned. Pilots stare blankly. Mechanics work without urgency. Everyone already knows. The next day, the reports are clear. The battle, later called the Battle of the Philippine Sea, has shattered Japan's carrier air arm. Hundreds of aircraft lost. Even more pilots. The Americans call it the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. Nishizawa does not hear that phrase yet. What he sees instead is worse. Replacement pilots arrive, teenagers, nervous, undertrained. Aircraft are fewer. Spare parts almost non-existent. Fuel is rationed severely. Days later he flies again, escorting what remains of Japan's naval air units. The Zero still turns beautifully, but now it meets radar-directed Hellcats, improved tactics, and overwhelming numbers every time it rises. He watches young pilots die in their first engagement. He tries to teach. There is no time. There is no fuel. There is no institutional support left to make lessons matter. The sky over the Pacific changes in these weeks. Where once Japanese fighters hunted freely, they now avoid contact. Missions become defensive, reactive, desperate. Nishizawa understands the truth fully now. Control of the air is not lost in a single battle, but this battle makes the loss irreversible. And soon, the war will demand something else from pilots like him. Something final. Autumn 1944. The tempo of the war accelerates, but Japan's air power slows with each passing week. Nishizawa feels it every time he straps into the cockpit. Fewer aircraft on the line. Fewer pilots answering roll call. Less fuel in every tank. He is no longer flying to win the sky. He is flying to delay its loss. American aircraft now appear with mechanical certainty on schedule, in formation at altitude. F6F Hellcats and SB-2C Hell divers dominate the airspace above the Philippines. Radar stations vector them. Precisely, they arrive already, positioned for advantage. Nishizawa climbs with a small escort group, assigned to protect retreating surface units. The climb is slow. Engines are underpowered from poor maintenance and low octane. Fuel. Young wingmen struggle to hold. Formation. One drifts low. Another climbs too steeply. The attack comes without warning. Hellcats dive through the formation. Guns already firing. 1-0 ignites instantly. Another snaps apart in midair. Nishizawa reacts on instinct, hauling his aircraft into a defensive turn, calling commands that no longer carry authority. He engages one Hellcat briefly, forcing it wide with a tight spiral, but another drops in behind him. The Zero shakes as rounds tear through fabric and metal. Warning lights flicker. The cockpit fills with the sharp smell of fuel vapor. Nishizawa dives. Sea rushes up. Spray erupts as he skims barely above the waves, using ground effect to gain speed. The Hellcats do not follow. They climb back to altitude, preserving advantage. They have learned exactly how to fight him. He pulls away, heart pounding, aware that he is surviving only because the enemy allows it. Back on the airstrip, losses are counted quietly. No speeches, no ceremony. Pilots avoid eye contact. Everyone understands that air superiority has fully shifted and will never return. Orders arrive soon after. New tactics, new missions, special attack units. Nishizawa reads the briefing in silence. He does not protest. He does not volunteer. He simply absorbs the meaning. The Zero, once a symbol of mastery, is now a delivery system with no return. He looks at the younger pilot's boys, really listening with rigid expressions. They do not ask questions. Many already know their assignment before hearing it aloud. Nishizawa returns to his aircraft and runs a hand along the wing. He remembers when this machine could dance through the sky unchallenged, when skill mattered more than production capacity. Now American aircraft pass overhead daily, unopposed. Japan no longer controls when battles happen, only where the damage lands. As Nishizawa prepares for his next flight, he knows the sky above the Pacific belongs to someone else now. The only uncertainty left is how and when his own story will end. And the war is not finished asking its final price. October 1944. The sky over the Philippines is crowded again, but not with Japanese fighters. American aircraft move freely now, striking bridges, airfields, convoys. They choose the hour. They choose the altitude. Japan reacts after the fact. Lieutenant Hiroyoshi Nishizawa flies one of his final operational missions, escorting aircraft toward Leyte Gulf. The radio traffic is sparse. Formations are thin. The Zero feels older with each sortie, its limits exposed in every climb and dive. He scans the sky constantly. No enemy appears. That absence is the proof. When American fighters want to engage, they do. When they don't, they pass unseen, higher and faster. On the 26th of October 1944, Nishizawa is reassigned no longer to combat patrol, but to transport duty. He carries replacement aircraft from Cebu toward Clark Field. It is a quiet mission, routine, the kind that once felt safe. Midway through the flight, contrails appear above him. American fighters, Hellcats, descending with practiced geometry. There is no escort, no altitude advantage, no warning. Nishizawa brakes instinctively, forcing the Zero into a hard turn. The response is familiar, comforting even, but it is not enough. The Hellcats do not follow the turn. They fire, climb, and reposition. The first burst misses. The second does not. Rounds strike the fuselage. The engine loses power. Smoke floods back along the canopy. Nishizawa holds the aircraft level, fighting the controls, searching for any opening cloud, sea, distance. There's none. The Zero begins to descend. Below, the water is calm, blue-gray, endless. No ships, no land. The aircraft impacts the sea at speed. There is no explosion, only spray, then silence. Hiroyoshi Nishizawa is 24 years old. He does not die as a symbol or a myth or a final act of defiance. He dies as a pilot overtaken by a war that moved faster than the institutions meant to sustain him. By the end of 1944, Japan no longer contests control of the skies. Radar, logistics, industrial output, and pilot training pipelines decide the outcome. Skill without support collapses. Courage without replacement vanishes. The Zero remains agile. Japanese pilots remain brave. But air superiority belongs to the side that can lose aircraft today and fly again tomorrow. The sky over the Pacific belongs to the United States, now because systems outlast individuals, and World War II enters its final, brutal phase beneath uncontested American air power.